Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Tonight, I have a story that's going to make you think twice before sitting alone on a rainy night. This isn't just some made-up ghost story. It's something that really happened, something so terrifying that it still haunts the person who went through it. Imagine the rain tapping against your windows, the wind rattling your door, and darkness creeping into every corner of your room. That's exactly how this nightmare began. It all started when they moved into this old house on the edge of town. During the day, it looked normal, quiet, peaceful, maybe even charming. But at night, especially when the rain came down hard, it felt wrong. Heavy. Like the air itself was watching them. The floors creaked, doors groaned, and the wind found every crack. On the first night, they barely noticed anything. But by the second night, strange things started happening. It began small. A soft tapping at the door. Footsteps in the hallway when no one was there. Shadows moving across the walls, disappearing when they turned to look. They tried to brush it off, telling themselves it was just the old house settling. But deep down, they knew something wasn't right. Then, around midnight, the first real terror came. They woke up to a hand, pale, thin, and skeletal, reaching from the corner of the room. It curled its fingers toward them like it wanted to pull them into the shadows. They froze, paralyzed with fear. And then, it vanished. Just like that. The room was quiet, but their heart was pounding so hard they could barely breathe. After that, things got worse. Objects moved on their own. Chairs slid across the floor. Lights flickered, then went out. Shadows appeared in corners where none should exist. And the whispers started, soft at first, then louder. Always calling their name. Sometimes gentle. Sometimes cruel. They tried to escape. Running through the house, flashlight in hand, every door seemed to lead somewhere new. Hallways stretched longer than they should. Floors creaked beneath them, but no one was there. When they reached the front door, it wouldn't budge. Every handle, every knob, refused to move. It was like the house itself was holding them inside. The rain got louder, beating against the windows. Lightning flashed, and for a moment, they saw it, standing at the end of the hallway. At first, just a shadow. Then, something more. Twisted, pale, impossible. Its eyes were black, endless, staring right at them. Every time they blinked, it got closer, gliding silently, unnaturally. In sheer desperation, they locked themselves in the bedroom. But the footsteps didn't stop. They circled, slow and deliberate. A whisper came from behind the door, repeating their name over and over. Then came a tap at the window. 1, 2, dozens. When they finally looked, the rain on the glass had formed words, "Come and forever." They couldn't sleep. Even in daylight, shadows followed them. Friends who visited reported hearing whispers, seeing fleeting shapes out of the corner of their eye. Even pets refused to enter certain rooms. One night, they found something horrifying beneath the floorboards, old, brittle photographs. Faces twisted in terror, eyes wide and lifeless. Some of the faces looked strangely familiar, almost like theirs. Names scratched into the wood, people who had lived here before, people who never left. The presence got bolder. Doors slammed. Lights went out. Whispers became sentences, "You belong here. Don't leave. We are watching." And always, the feeling of being followed, even when the room was empty. Finally, one stormy night, they tried to confront it. Standing in the middle of the living room, rain hammering the windows, they shouted, asking what it wanted. The house answered. The temperature dropped. The lights flickered. And then, they saw it, floating above the floor. Its mouth open in a silent scream, eyes voids of endless darkness, hands reaching out. Paralyzed with fear, they felt an invisible force pulling at them. The walls seemed to stretch, the room twisting around them. They closed their eyes, praying. When they opened them again, it was gone, but the feeling of its presence remained, heavier than ever. They tried leaving. Every exit vanished. Doors turned into walls. Windows opened to darkness. The house had claimed them, not physically, but mentally. Every shadow, every whisper, every creak of the floor reminded them of what was waiting in the dark. Even now, after moving out, the memories don't fade. Storms bring back the whispers. Shadows in the corner of a room feel alive. Every creak, every gust of wind, recalls that rainy night, that house, that thing that watched them. And that's the thing about real horror, it doesn't end. It stays with you, following you, waiting. So, if you're alone tonight, listening to the rain, think twice before turning off the lights. Because you never know what might be watching from the corners, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal itself. The rain, the shadows, the silence, they're not just background. They're the first whispers of horror, the first signs that something is there, unseen, and very real. The scariest monsters aren't always visible. Sometimes, they're the fear inside you, amplified by darkness, by storms, by your imagination, and by the knowledge that somewhere, someone else is living this nightmare right now. Lock your doors. Check your windows. Maybe keep the lights on tonight. Because you never know when the whispers will start, or when a hand will appear from the shadows. And the truth? The end is never really the end. The house, the storm, the shadows, they are always waiting. Always. Tonight, I'm going to tell you a story that will make you think twice before sitting alone on a rainy night. This isn't just a ghost story, it's something that actually happened, something so terrifying it still haunts the person who experienced it. Imagine the rain lashing against the windows, the wind rattling the doors, and darkness pressing in from every corner. That's how it began. It started when they moved into an old house on the outskirts of town. From the outside, it looked normal, even peaceful. But at night, especially during storms, the house felt heavy, almost alive. Floors creaked, doors groaned, and the wind seemed to whisper through every crack. On the first night, they barely noticed anything. But by the second night, the true horror began. It started small. A soft tap at the bedroom door. Footsteps in the hallway. Shadows moving across walls, disappearing whenever they looked directly at them. They told themselves it was just the old house settling, but deep down, something told them otherwise. By midnight, the air grew colder. That's when they saw it. A hand, pale and skeletal, reaching from the corner of the room. Fingers curling as if to pull them into darkness. Frozen in fear, they couldn't move or scream. Then, just as suddenly, it vanished. The room was silent. The rain outside fell harder, like it was mocking them. The days that followed were worse. Objects moved on their own. Chairs slid across floors. The lights flickered violently, plunging rooms into darkness. Shadows appeared in corners where no one should be. And then came the whispers. Always their name. Sometimes soft, sometimes cruel, always too deliberate to be imagined. One stormy night, desperation forced them to confront the presence. Standing in the living room, rain hammering against the windows, they shouted, asking what it wanted. The house answered. The temperature dropped sharply. Their breath fogged the air. Lights flickered, and in one blinding flash, they saw it. A figure, floating above the floor, pale, twisted, and impossible. Its eyes were black, endless voids, staring directly at them. Its hands reached out. Paralyzed, they felt an invisible force tugging at them. The walls stretched unnaturally. The floor seemed to ripple beneath their feet. They closed their eyes, praying. When they opened them again, it was gone. But the feeling of its presence lingered, heavier than ever. Sleep became impossible. Shadows in every corner. Whispers in daylight. Even friends noticed strange occurrences, doors opening by themselves, objects moving. Pets refused to enter certain rooms. The house had marked them, claimed them. One evening, they discovered old photographs hidden beneath the floorboards. Faces twisted in terror, eyes wide and lifeless. Names scratched into the wood, people who had lived there before, people who never left. Some faces looked eerily like theirs, as if the house had been waiting for them. One evening, they discovered old photographs hidden beneath the floorboards. Faces twisted in terror, eyes wide and lifeless. Names scratched into the wood, people who had lived there before, people who never left. Some faces looked eerily like theirs, as if the house had been waiting for them. The entity grew bolder. At night, doors slammed violently. Lights went out. Whispers formed sentences, "You belong here. Don't leave. We are watching." And the feeling of being followed intensified, even in empty rooms. They tried escaping. Every exit seemed to vanish. Doors became walls. Windows opened to darkness. The house had claimed them, not physically, but mentally. Every shadow, every whisper, every creak of the floor reminded them of what was waiting in the dark. Even after leaving, the memories didn't fade. Storms brought back whispers. Shadows in corners felt alive. Every floor creak, every gust of wind recalled the terror of that rainy night. Real horror doesn't end. It follows you, lingers, waits. One night, they decided to return, trying to confront it once more. The storm was the fiercest they had ever experienced. Rain pounded, thunder cracked, lightning illuminated the sky. Standing in the center of the living room, they called out. The house answered. Temperature dropped. Lights flickered. And then, the figure appeared, full and undeniable, hovering above the floor. Its mouth opened in a silent scream. Its eyes were voids. Its hands stretched impossibly long. An invisible force gripped them, lifting them slightly off the floor. The walls twisted around them. The rain outside sounded like drums on the roof. They screamed, but no sound came out. Paralyzed by fear, they could only stare. And then, the figure vanished. They tried leaving. But every exit was gone. Doors became walls. Windows opened to black nothingness. Panic consumed them. The house had claimed them completely. Even now, storms bring back the terror. Every shadow, every flicker of light recalls that night. And the terrifying truth, no one else can see it. Only the person who was there knows the full horror. That is what makes it real, what makes it linger. They eventually moved far away, but the nightmares never stopped. Every storm, every shadow, every whisper brings the memory back. The house, the storm, the darkness, they are always waiting. Always. Then there was the road incident. On a separate rainy night, driving home late, the road seemed endless and empty. Headlights barely cut through the darkness. Suddenly, a figure appeared. Tall, thin, soaked by the rain. Completely still. Its face hidden, presence unnatural. A chill ran down their spine. The figure raised a hand, pointing at the passenger side. Their heart raced. The engine died. Car wouldn't start. The figure tapped the window. Slowly, deliberately. Then all the lights went out. They spun around. In the flash of lightning, the figure's face appeared, pale, hollow, eyes black and endless, mouth stretched in a silent scream. Then it vanished. They finally forced the car to start, driving like their life depended on it. Every time they glanced in the rearview mirror, it appeared closer, in impossible spots on the road, always watching. Even at home, the feeling followed them. Shadows moved in corners. The phone rang. No one on the other end. Only a whisper, "You can't hide." That night, sleep was impossible. Every corner of the room seemed alive. Rain sounded like footsteps circling the house. From the closet came scraping noises. Something was inside. Waiting. They never stayed alone again. Storms brought back the memories. And the terrifying truth, no one else could see it. Only the person trapped knew it, survived it, barely. On another rainy night, a house abandoned for years became their nightmare. Wind whispered secrets through broken windows. They stayed alone. The storm hammered the house. At first, silence. Then footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Whispers behind the ear, you shouldn't be here. Furniture shifted. Messages scratched into the walls, leave now. Lights went out. Total darkness. A hand touched their shoulder, cold, bony. Spinning around, nothing. Shadows stretched unnaturally. One moved independently, slithering along the floor. Every exit refused to open. Whispers in the head, you can't escape. Upstairs, hallways stretched impossibly long. A pale figure appeared at the end of the hall, beckoning. Walls pulsed, breathing. Rain hammered the windows. The figure vanished. Only whispers remained. They never stayed again. Storms bring the memory back. Every shadow recalls that night. Real horror is invisible. It follows, it waits. Always. Even when the world seemed normal, subtle things reminded them the terror never ended. Mirrors reflected fleeting faces. Cold spots appeared in warm rooms. Phones rang with static whispers. Every storm, every downpour, brought back the same suffocating fear. One night, lightning struck nearby. The house, or rather, the memory of it, returned in full force. Shadows stretched along the walls. Whispers turned into screaming. Doors slammed. Windows rattled violently. They huddled in the center of their new home, heart pounding, drenched in sweat, unable to move. And then they realized the most horrifying truth: it had followed them. Not physically, not in flesh, but in presence. The darkness, the whispers, the shadows, they were inside them now. It didn't matter where they went. It never left. Even now, they live in constant vigilance. Storms bring its voice. Shadows shift unnaturally. Every creak, every whisper, every chill reminds them, the house never released them. It claimed them completely, body and soul. So if you're sitting alone tonight, rain tapping against your window, listen closely. Shadows may stretch longer than they should. Whispers might sound almost like your name. And if you feel a hand brushing your shoulder, don't turn around. Because the darkness doesn't just hide things. It hunts them. And it never lets go. Thank you for your watching video.